Hello everybody, welcome to Nat's show. Today we have some very special guests, but first we need to introduce today's discussion. Today we're going to be discussing the Chinese stereotypes and how they perceive time. For this we have two very special guests. Please welcome Bruno and Karla.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being here. So Bruno, as an American with a PhD, how would you analyze Chinese stereotypes?
Well, first we need to state what stereotypes we will talk about and which ones cause the most damage to the culture.
As a Chinese woman, I can say that the most hurtful stereotype is the one that states that all of us are smart. Chinese children, this is a cause of low self-esteem because if they do not reach the requirements of the Chinese standards, they feel really bad about themselves.
Okay, so saying that a Chinese person has to be above average all the time is hurtful to them because it can cause them to have a bad self-esteem.
Not only that, but they can also develop several mental illnesses like OCD, anxiety, and other things. When someone assumes that a Chinese person is smarter than them, they will expect so much more from them than someone else, and that's a lot of pressure that they usually can't handle.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I would say that one Chinese stereotype that actually hurts a lot to like Chinese people is when people say that they will eat absolutely anything that moves.
Oh, definitely. Whenever I go outside the country, people are always ask me about my weird eating habits. Like if I eat dog for dinner, what's that?
This certainly is an issue we should address. This stereotype can cause children to be bullied incessantly.
Children are very sensitive to this kind of teasing, which is why this Chinese stereotype is very harmful.
According to another stereotype, Chinese people are expected to tackle the most challenging careers available in universities for the same reason they say that they are really smart.
This is unfortunately true. The most popular career that parents encourage kids to take is law, medicine, or engineering.
Sometimes the son or daughter doesn't want to study those careers, but since they are forced into it, they put on great effort even though it's not what they want to do for their lives.
Okay, moving on to the other topic today. Let's talk about personal space in China.
In my experience, living in a high populated city in China means that you get no personal space. Whenever you go in the bus or on the street, people stand really close to each other.
This may feel like an unsafe environment because having strangers that stand close to you appeals directly to your brain as danger.
People say that sometimes in China, people don't like wait in line for situations that require that. What would it be like for another culture? Like, is that true?
It depends on how far you are from the major cities. The farther you are, the less people care about making a line and more about getting what they want.
When I visited China, I encountered the problem of Chinese organization. I was waiting in a line to buy some food when suddenly a group of guys entered the room and completely ignored me. I felt disrespected.
I can tell you from personal experience that sometimes lines move quicker than in China than in the US.
So it is true that Chinese people don't do lines, but they're okay with that. Like, education is very different according to the culture you're analyzing. Like, people are always raised with different values depending on where they were raised. For example, if you were raised in like a Catholic family, you would be raised with different values than a Muslim family or like a Jewish family.
Yes, people always assume Asians are Chinese, which is why they think Chinese people are everywhere, but we're really not. We're just spread out and we're all Asians.
Indeed, for example, people always assume all Asians are Chinese when in fact Asia is a continent with a lot of ethnicities.
I think the reason for this is that people like Asian features, like their facial features, are really recognizable. So people see a lot of that and they think they're all Chinese because it's a culture they're more familiar with. So we tend to like put that together, like the culture we're more familiar with the recognizable features and just like mix them together. And that's why people say we are like, you know, like all
Everyone's the
Chinese
same.
people. Yeah.
Yes. Well, Assuming that Asians are Chinese is really harmful, not only for China but for the other countries, because you are missing to represent what they are and who they are.
I think this is why the stereotype of beauty nowadays is usually like a white person who is tall, who is fit, and who has blue eyes. Because you don't see that type of representation in the media. Most of representation in the media nowadays is of white people. They don't have enough blacks, they don't have enough Hispanics, they certainly don't have enough Asians. And if they do, it's just completely wrong and they kill them off or something like that.
Yes, and people tend to relate with what they are most familiar with, like things they see every day.
As a graduate with an international relations degree, may I add that people around the world will also react differently to euphemisms. For example, in America, people say "shut up" when they think something is unbelievable. If you would say that to a Chinese who doesn't understand English very well, they'd probably feel offended.
That's true. Also, different cultures say things differently. Americans go straight to the point when talking about something, whereas other cultures prefer to avoid being so direct as much as possible.
This has to be in the form how people perceive time. For example, Chinese people value time very much. That's why they always seem to be hurried.
Well, thank you for making time to answer all of our questions and giving inside information about the Chinese cultures in these important matters.
In the contrary, thanks you for inviting us to share with you the information we have.
Unfortunately, we're all out of time for today's show, but join me tomorrow for another thing.
Okay, until next time then.
Whew.